What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for another episode of Cup of Joe with Web3 Joe. That's Web3 Job Ops and Events, your hub, headquarters, and home base for all things Web3 talent and recruitment. We're here every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, powered by, of course, none other than Web3 Job Ops. So make sure to show them some love if you're looking for work in the space or just looking to get tapped in with a super connected team. Once again, we're here every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, doing our best to fill this next 30, 40 minutes or so with as much value as possible. We do that by bringing on legends from the space, professionals who know what it takes to get their foot in the door and be successful in their roles in Web3, in blockchain. Today, we're very excited to have none other than Kelsey at Hey McGuire, who's a fractional CGO, and also Muggles, who is a business lead over at Gearbox. I think Kelsey's on stage, if I'm not mistaken. I see her as a listener, but I think she's on stage. I'm going to throw it over to Muggles first. Muggles, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us today. Happy Wednesday.
Hey James, sir. Happy Wednesday. All good, all good. Hope you guys have been well as well.
Amazing. Appreciate you being here today, Muggles. Kelsey, I believe we have you on stage. Testing now. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for being here.
Hey there. Happy Wednesday. Great to be here.
Amazing, amazing. We're locked in. Shows you as a listener, but I had faith and we made it anyway. So beautiful. Thank you both so much for being here with us today. Shout out Nikki, Apex, Diggy in the audience. I see y'all as well. Also, anyone listening to the recording, whether that's here on X, on YouTube, or Spotify, we appreciate you. And we hope you tune in next time as well. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's conversation. I did my best to give an intro on both of you, but I'd love to give each of you the opportunity to give your own as well for those who are less familiar. Kelsey, we'll go with you first. Can you tell the people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got started doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a fractional CGO, CMO, Web3 AI advisor, and I know that is a lot. But basically, it boils down into I work with teams on everything from, helping them figure out how to build their team, what makes sense over there, to marketing, comms, all of that good stuff, brand strategy. And I actually worked in fashion, beauty industries for many, many years on creative campaigns and even partnerships with artists and all sorts of folks. In 2017, I was getting really interested in shifting into working in tech more. And then in early 2018, I learned about Consensus, not the conference, but the Ethereum company, at a fashion industry party downtown in Soho in New York City, and the rest is history. So I joined up over there in 2018.
Oops, thought I unmuted. I said amazing, Kelsey. And any milestones you're especially proud of achieving since joining Web3 professionally?
Absolutely. I mean, I think first off, breaking into the industry is a massive milestone. And I do think for the listeners here and anyone that hears this in the future, you can. I didn't have a background in tech, but I did do everything I could to learn about the technology leading up to my interviews and do a deep dive there, and it worked out. So that was a huge one. I've been really proud of some of the creative direction and rebrands I've worked on with the different projects, because you can see not only the change in how things look and feel, say on a homepage, the website, but the change in traffic. So it's that combination of sort of creative plus metrics that I really love. And those have been a couple huge milestones. I think maybe the one other one was we had a giant activation back in the day when I was with Consensus at DevCon in Osaka. That was a scavenger hunt and included also a lot of the portfolio companies that were called spokes. So you have this beautiful garden in Osaka. We had dinosaurs and creatures representing different projects, and we got a lot of user feedback, and just the sentiment was great, and the campaign performed really well. So those are just a few of the highlights over now maybe 8 years of work in the space.
Kelsey, I can hear you smiling through the mic, and it's making me smile. So I love it. Like it makes me happy to know that you've had such a joyous path along your professional career in Web3, and I'm sure that's played a role and played out in terms of the value you've been able to add to the teams you've worked with as well. Muggles, I'd love to throw the same question over to you. Can you tell the people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got started doing it, as well as any milestones you've been proud of achieving since your time in Web3 as well?
Absolutely. So I'm Muggles. My actual name is Ashar. I guess we talks now. But yeah, so I lead business at Gearbox. I was previously leading comms and marketing, but over the last couple of months, I have shifted more towards business development and looking after the next suite of products that we'll be launching. Um, I joined Web3 via Discord. So previously, I led brand for Quaker. I was working in PepsiCo, but I came across DeFi via a friend, and I liked the idea so much. I just started going across Discords and finding out what's the best projects. Love Gearbox, still do. Um, yeah, just gave my opinions and stuff. Joined as a contributor, and then grew into head of marketing, and now I'm leading business. As for the achievements that I'm really proud of, so Gearbox has had a few, right? Um, we have had five plus markets that scale to $200 million plus TVL. We have had almost $12.5 billion worth of lending volume. We have had 30,000 plus users with borrowers averaging at above $500,000 in average size. We have actually been able to sustain ourselves through revenue and not just funding. So we did not raise too much, and we have actually spent nearly as much as we raised on security today. And despite that, the treasury has 2 years of runway. So really proud of that fact as well.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on all your achievements thus far. I know you got a long way to go. I'd love to get into the practical advice for our listeners, specifically on how they can potentially be in either of your shoes one day. Let's get started with how can listeners, or what advice would you have for listeners on how to actually get the conversation started with a potential employer, whether that be at a live event, whether that be through the DMs, whether that be through some kind of evidence of work or value add. What advice could you offer there? I'll throw it over to Muggles first.
Yep, absolutely. I think uh, in today's day, it's extremely different from what it used to be. If you're looking for an entry level position, you are better off looking at different fields. But if you want to get into a position that's even remotely senior or head of something, I think you should go into one of the segments that Web3 or crypto has to offer today. Um, we are at a point where we have multiple segments, right? We have DeFi, we have tokenization, we have networks, we have ZK. We have so much going on, and if you try to be a generalist, it's tough to catch eyes. But if you were someone who is an expert in one thing, people tend to care more, and the kind of people that follow you, they often have a lot more signal than otherwise than just spreading yourself thin. In terms of getting noticed by a particular project, I think it still holds true what held true back in 2021. This is a small industry still. We are still early, even though it doesn't feel like that anymore. But yeah, try to give your opinions and stuff. If you want to reach out to someone, reach out to them in private as well. Make sure that you aren't just sending a mass message to them. Make it worth their while. Right? Keep it short. Tell them why exactly you want it, and also try the reply guy strategy exactly on the people you want to talk to. Create your priorities. Whatever they post, engage with it. Engage with it meaningfully. Don't just say yeah GM or let's go, stuff like that. Make sure your opinions have meaning, they have logic, and uh, you're able to articulate exactly what you want to say. You get your point across, and if you're able to impress them, of course they'll give you an opportunity.
Well said. We have enough NPCs and bots on this platform already, so please do not engage like one. You are human, be
Yep.
specific, show interest, and that's how you're going to get someone to show interest back. Kelsey, same question to you. What are some ways or what's some advice you can offer for folks on getting the conversation started with a potential employer?
Absolutely. And some of this will mirror what we just discussed around showing up as a human, because of course that is absolutely essential. But I would say join the communities, whether they're on Discord or Telegram, observe, engage in a meaningful way. Are there things that you can contribute? Are there ideas you have for the project that can make things even better? No sending generic spammy messages, just like what we said. Even oh, I love what you're doing isn't going to cut it. What specifically are you interested? What specifically do you love about what the project is doing? Because I can say myself, you can easily be inundated with messages, and it's pretty clear when something is a copy paste. And if it's not, you shouldn't sound like that anyway. So really think about how you approach that and be specific. Go to events if you can. And I know that this is out of the realm of possibility for a lot of people. It is not cheap to get to these events if they're not near you. But if you're there, take a deep breath, walk up and talk to people. It's not always easy, and it's okay if not everyone is receptive. But make sure that in those conversations, you're trying to see how you can help them, not just how they can help you. These types of relationships should not feel transactional because a lot of times landing these roles can be a long game. You're building relationships. You really genuinely want to come from a place of how you can support each other, because being ultra transactional, just, how can you help me, is not going to get you to where you want to be in the long run, in my opinion. But those are just some quick tips that are off the top of my head.
Yeah, well said. And we're going to get more into IRL events actually later in this conversation. So I'm glad you brought that up. On the topic of illustrating how you can help the team, not necessarily, at least to start, how the team can help you, what are some ways that folks can go into that first conversation here in crypto and Web3? That first conversation can be on the more casual side of the spectrum, or it can be more official, traditional interview style. But whatever it is, how can folks listening make sure that they're prepared when they go into that call to do exactly what you just said, Kelsey, to illustrate where they can add value to the specific team?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, this feels like a no-brainer, but I have had conversations with folks who've clearly not looked at the homepage or really anything about the project that they're interviewing with or having a conversation about. So make sure that you are fairly familiar with what the project is doing, fairly familiar with the JAD if you're going for a specific role, and from that, think of specific instances where you did similar tasks in past roles and highlight the process and the outcomes. Like have a few different stories ready so that you can clearly articulate, hey, like I see you're hiring for this type of marketing manager. I ran this awesome campaign in the past and we got these results. And I feel like this translates well into the type of work you're doing in this specific way. Just think about it ahead of time a little bit. So that way, if you feel a little nervous or your brain goes blank or any number of things when you're having these conversations in person or online or anywhere, you're just prepared and immediately can connect with someone.
I love that you mentioned stories, and it's something that comes up fairly often here in the Web3 world, especially here on Twitter, of just like owning the narrative and making sure that you're leading it to the desired result, right? Obviously, and that's true in any case. Obviously, you have the marketing brain, so I know you're thinking always in stories, but I think that's something that people listening can really hold on to and utilize to help in those conversations. Muggles, what would you say to that? What are some ways folks can go into those conversations prepared to properly illustrate their value to each team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the greatest parts about Web3 is that it's not just permissionless, it's extremely transparent. So when you look at a protocol or a project, you can instantly see their metrics. You can instantly see where they're struggling if you analyze them. You can instantly see where the strengths are. You can also see where their competitors are winning. You can see where they are struggling. You can find blind spots or white spaces for them to capture. So if you want to have a conversation with them, it you can always point out something they can win at. It might be their priority or it might not be their priority, but it shows that you have some level of insight, and it shows that you have the competence required to understand the project, the field, and what's actually required. That always does impress you. It might not be their priority. They might tell you that, yeah, we have thought about it, but we aren't doing it because of this reason, and that's fine. But it at least shows some level of initiative, which is, to be honest, at times lacking. Like Kelsey pointed out, people don't even look at your landing pages.
Well said. Also, shout out to the new faces we see popping in here. Shout out Legend, Timmy, John, Cal, Marco, Dion. We appreciate you jumping in. And once again, if anyone's listening to the recording, whether that's here on X, on YouTube, or Spotify, we appreciate you as well. We're here every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, talking how you can land your dream job in the space. This is one of my favorite topics. This next one, negotiation. People have different views on this and different advice on it, and I'm always curious, definitely in part selfishly, because this is something that I struggle with. So, what advice can you guys offer in terms of how to properly negotiate and how to make sure that both sides walk away feeling like they gotta win? Muggles, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, uh, absolutely. I think in terms of negotiations, crypto's kind of different, right? Depends on where you're starting. If it's your first job ever, uh, you kind of are and aren't at the mercy of the hirer or of the employer. But if you're somebody who's previously worked, your previous salaries, they matter. If you have experience, that matters. If you have leverage in terms of, you have the exact skills that the employer is looking for, that also matters. But a lot of times you just have to be honest, talk it out. You have to kind of understand the budgets the other side is working on. If you overshoot it too much, you will be shot down at that very second. If you undershoot it, well, you don't take away as much as you can. So you kind of have to understand how much everyone's getting paid. One of the ways is to understand where they're getting paid. A lot of people in crypto get paid via DAO treasuries and on chain. So if you can figure that out, you can at least understand what the average pay at the company is. Otherwise, refer to the average pays in the industry and see whether you believe you're above it or below it and start negotiating at that point.
I hear you saying self awareness and education, right? Being informed on what the actual market is offering. But again, couple that with self awareness. If this is your first role or maybe a more entry level role, probably not the best environment to negotiate in. Kelsey, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think it's much more challenging for the entry level roles. I do think, kind of like what Nicholas was saying, doing some of that research and seeing what the similar roles, I would still, if at all, and it generally is, do try to negotiate. Don't undersell yourself. When you're negotiating an offer, that is your best opportunity to get close to the pay you want. Because you don't know what promotions will look like. You don't know what the market will look like. Sometimes you don't even know how long you'll have this role, depending on what stage startup or project you're working with. So, really do try not to undersell yourself. Make sure you're clearly communicating the value you add given the JD and the type of role. This is a luxury for a lot of people, but if you're able to kind of be ready to walk away if possible, again, I know that's not realistic all the time, especially given the market, but it will change the dynamic of the conversation. I'm not saying, be aggressive or be like, oh, I don't even care about this, but just know that you can find hopefully other options and that changes the conversation. And then lastly, think about the whole package. A lot of times there's base, maybe there's tokens, maybe there's equity, maybe vacation is structured in a certain way. If they won't budge on base, think about what else you could potentially get or negotiate so that you feel great about joining and aren't starting off a role already feeling taken advantage of in some way.
I love that fact you pointed out of like that point of negotiation at the beginning is your best opportunity, at least in the short to midterm, to get to where you want to get to in terms of compensation. I've never really looked at it that way, but it's so true, and it's something we all know is true. The more experience we have in the workforce, and I also appreciate that point of thinking about things holistically, right? Especially here in crypto, and especially if you're in more of those executive levels, you can get a little bit more creative, especially depending on who you're working with or who you're negotiating with in terms of base, in terms of token, in terms of equity, in terms of benefits, in terms of work-life balance, things like that. So really good points from both of you. Uh, what defines a quality resume and or portfolio? Kelsey, I'll throw it back to you.
Absolutely. I think for me, it comes down to showcasing wins plus data in a cohesive way. So if you ran X type of campaign, I'm thinking on the marketing side, show me what the results were and do it in a succinct way that's really easy to digest. It does come back down to storytelling. Of course, it's a little different when you're looking at a resume, but I want to see creative thinking, and then I want to see results. And that all of that should be tailored based on the role that. And on the portfolio side, having some organized different types of pieces. Again, it depends on the role, but I want to see the scope of what you can do, and I want to see the types of results, and if at all possible, a little bit of the thinking and strategy behind it. Because when I hire someone, I really do like to understand a little bit of kind of the why and really how they were thinking about the audience, who are they trying to connect with, and create these different types of assets. And that way I can see if it's a good fit or maybe not. So it doesn't have to get overly complicated when it comes to the resume and the portfolio, but just constantly reorient yourself to what you did, why it was a win, and any data you have to support that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't like things when they're overly complicated. I much prefer things when they're simple. And I think the way you just broke it down in terms of wins plus data plus strategy, and any context you can provide there without it being too bloated, that's the strategy that you want. Muggles, what would you add there?
Um, Honestly, I will largely keep it the same. The only couple of things I would add is if you're sending out a resume, make sure that you kind of order it for the correct job. You at least keep it relevant because there are times when you're uploading a resume for a community role and it has nothing to do with community at all. There are times when you're hiring a BD person and they have done nothing in BD at all. So if you don't have it and or you just want to start and the testing clearly states that you need experience, make sure that you just don't apply because the likelihood of getting through becomes tougher. If you're still applying, make sure that you at least try and reach out, kind of get a point across. Otherwise, the other things I like to see are metrics and hard metrics, not just kept that is scored up X number of times and stuff like that. I want proper essays in terms of how many tickets you were serving a month or the kind of uptime different things had, what your engagement was, what was the ROAS and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I would add.
It's amazing how far a little bit of extra effort can go, and really tailoring your resume, your portfolio to each specific role really absolutely does make a difference. Um, we're almost getting ready to start winding down. We do a theme of the week on this show every single week where we touch on a specific aspect of the getting hired, of the being successful in a role process. This week, it's leveraging IRL events. Now, we have a couple unique perspectives here on stage because I know Kelsey mentioned earlier, leverage IRL events are a great way, if possible, to create opportunity for yourself. But Muggles, I know you personally don't actually attend IRL events, so I would love to actually hear from both of you your thoughts on this. I'll throw it over to Kelsey first. What are your thoughts on IRL events, and how can folks leverage them into professional opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I am really, really into IRL events. I have been since I started at Consensus in 2018. Part of my role was focused on experiential marketings and community and events. So I know that they have a lot of power and potential if you do them right. not from sort of the project and company perspective, but as an individual, I would say come prepared with a narrative about yourself, a story, kind of what we mentioned earlier. Don't be transactional. Really make sure that when you're meeting people in person, that you have a way to follow. And that doesn't mean that you have to take a picture with yourself and everyone you meet and send it to them on Telegram. It means getting the handle, following up, reintroducing yourself with context, because you'll leave these events with dozens and dozens of individuals and maybe you don't exactly remember who they were and what they did. So that little extra effort can result in a really, positive connection for folks. And I would say, if you're there to try to maybe land a new role or meet teams, you're not going to necessarily get a lot done after midnight or at a rave where you can't hear anyone. So focusing a lot of your efforts on the earlier happy hours and breakfasts and those types of learning and opportunities for connections can be extremely helpful. And then lastly, be careful. And I would say, try not to get intoxicated out of your mind because it will not make the best impression if you're there for, for work and networking. And just be aware of that. And even when it doesn't feel like a working and professional environment, it can still have professional impacts.
Oh man, that is very well said. That is even when it doesn't feel like the most professional, like you're still among coworkers, and there's still a level of professionalism that you have to hold yourself to, and maybe others may not be, may or may not be. You have to understand that the consequences and the impact of those decisions are still going to be very, very real tomorrow and the next day. So, great points, Kelsey. Muggles, I really want to hear your thoughts here. I know you mentioned you don't tend to attend IRL events too often. So I'd love to hear, in general, what are your thoughts on IRL events, and what are some ways that folks who can't make IRL events regularly can kind of still get value out of them in order in the form of creating opportunity for themselves.
Yep, absolutely. So, why I don't attend in IRL events is largely due to, well, us managing treasury at Gearbox. That's the honest answer. We send one person who can really pitch the product well, and we send one person who manages the technical stack. So, we have the combination over there. Um, they go ahead and meet all the relevant people. It's still a great place to network. Not saying that IRL events are useless or anything of the sort. It's just that we have to manage a treasury and we do everything based on the kind of returns we are able to get. uh, we tend to actually focus far more on side events where we find a concentrated density of relevant partners, and we usually tend to sponsor them and have talks over there, have panels over there, and that enables us to get directly to the people we want to talk to, reach out to them, and then eventually start working with them.
Lovely. I'd love to get to our closing questions as we start to get ready to wind down the show. And our first closing question is, what is your favorite and what is your least favorite part of working in crypto? Muggles, I'll throw it to you first.
Yep, absolutely. I have very extreme opinions about this, to be very honest. My favorite part is the fact that we are working on the absolute edge of innovation when it comes to what DeFi is delivering towards traditional finance today. It's absolutely amazing. And to think on your feet every day, to come up with new ideas, to come up with new solutions, especially with what's happening with tokenization today, that's an experience I believe no other industry can deliver. What I absolutely hate about crypto, and that's been the trend till now, but I think it's over now, is the rapid destruction of everything that's created because it's based on speculation. Uh, you create a $200 million market, push it, have a great GTM. Eventually, that thing's gonna die as well. Whether it was restaking, whether it was plethora of collaterals that have come and gone, they often tend to not be just worth it, to be honest. Apart from certain LRTs, Athena, and our all good majors, nothing else has been worth the collateral till now. So when you work something up to say $700 million or $800 million worth of TVL, and you know that perhaps it's going to go to zero in about a year, and it does. Yeah, doing that repeatedly just burns you out at times.
Great points. Kelsey, favorite and least favorite parts of working in crypto?
Yeah, so with working in crypto, the tech of course is really fascinating and I love the creative work I do, but my favorite part has to be some of the amazing people I've met. Um, these individuals I think I'll be friends with or connected to or working with in some capacity for life. And that's something that wouldn't have happened unless I in this industry. These folks are brilliant, driven, just amazing individuals. So that's by far my favorite part, even though there's a lot of perks. I would say the least favorite part are, we've seen a trend, people kind of drinking their own Kool-Aid and not thinking critically about things. And my least favorite part is, I guess, some of the less amazing people and folks that need to learn how to act amongst other people and in public. Um, and I think I'd like to think that that's getting a little better, but especially at the early events, a lot of stern conversations needed to be had. And I'm hoping that we're moving away from that.
Yeah, no, great points, and it ties into your earlier point as well. I mean, it depends what role you're in, depends what you do, but in general, I think we can all agree this is maybe a more social space industry than others, which can be amazing and you can connect with awesome people, but it's just something to be considerate of all of us individually in terms of how we present ourselves, how we make others feel, and all that good stuff, whether it's online or IRL, right? Um, what final advice? We've talked about a lot of insights, a lot of tips, a lot of do's and don'ts in these last 30 minutes. What final top of mind advice would you like to leave our listeners with in terms of how they can either get hired in Web3 or advance their careers in Web3? Kelsey, I'll throw it to you first.
I would say keep trying. And then, in a more concrete way, if there's someone that you know or find that can almost act as a mentor, really, really try to make that happen. They can facilitate introductions, conversations, and it will require a lot of proactive activity from your end to make that happen. But if you can facilitate that connection, it will really help you move forward.
Keep trying, be persistent, and if you can, find somebody to help guide you along the way. Incredible advice, Kelsey. Muggles, what are your thoughts there?
Honestly, I have a very simple advice: be genuinely curious. I think the best people I've met here, they were genuinely curious about crypto, and they eventually either really liked it, they loved it, or they decided that it's not for them. And I think those are the people that it worked out the best for.
Well said, and it's not the first time we've heard that advice here on this stage as well. Be curious; that'll take you far. Absolutely. Last question for our honorable guests. You guys have been so amazing. You've dropped so many insights. I would love to ask each of you. We'll start off with Kelsey. For us listening, how can we better support you and the amazing teams that you support as well?
Thank you. Love it. Last question. Um, I would say that if you're interested in chatting about, anything from brand strategy to fractional CMO, CGO, strategy work, I know that's an umbrella, but done a lot over the years. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Telegram with the same handle as here on Twitter. I'm not over here on Twitter very often, slash, as you can see. But happy to have a conversation. So just feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for having me on.
Amazing. So if you heard Kelsey's advice just earlier to find a mentor, she's not offering to mentor you, but she is there if you have a question or two. So take advantage, give her a follow, show her some love on her posts, and who knows what you might learn, right? Take it. That's what this is all about. Muggles, I would love to ask the same question for you. How can we better support you and the amazing team over at Gearbox?
Absolutely the same thing, honestly. My TG is the same as my username on Twitter. Reach out to me any way you would like to. And Kbox will be launching a tokenization first lending stack in about a couple of months. We have gone purposefully quiet for now. But when we come back, it will be something entirely different with institutions and people who matter. So do support us at that point.
Boom! There you go. A little bit of behind the scenes insight from the Gearbox team. Things are cooking. Devs are deving. Make sure to give them a follow. That's Muggles on X. That's MuggleSect. And Miss Kelsey. That's at Hey McGuire. HeyMcGuire for our friends over on YouTube and Spotify. We appreciate y'all, ladies and gentlemen. That has been our show. Once again, we are here every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, doing our best to help you land your dream job in the space. Muggles, Kelsey, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for stopping by. Any final thoughts before we let you go? Kelsey, I'll throw it to you first.
Nothing else, but thank you so much. This was wonderful conversation.
Kelsey, it wouldn't have been nearly as wonderful without you. Thank you so much. Hope we can do it again sometime. Muggles, any final thoughts?
Yep. Same. This was absolutely amazing. Thank you everyone for giving us the time.
Thank you both. Thank you both so much. And to all of you listening, Nikki, Tarek, Anthony, Legend, Timmy, John, whether you're listening here live or on the recording, we appreciate you. We hope to see you back here next week. And until then, y'all know the drill. We will see you soon, and we're rooting for you. Take care, gang.